am really honoured today because we've got somebody on the podcast who probably doesn't need much of an introduction other than the name, really. It's Sharon Cawley from probably the biggest Facebook group that I've ever seen, with groups of teachers and individuals, teachers, and people who have just left teaching to find a new life, a life that they deserve to have. So a big welcome to Sharon. Sharon, I'm so honoured to have you the other side of the screen right now. And I cannot wait just to sit back, listen, take notes and learn. And anybody else who is listening, I'm also going to prompt you guys to do exactly the same, because this is going to be packed full of, in your words, Sharon, absolute golden nuggets of the things we need as a foundation for any successful business. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly.
The best place to start, I think what lots of people, and what we were just talking before we press record about, how sometimes it's really easy to be like one side of a conversation, or looking at someone who you really look up to and get inspiration from and go, oh my God, this person's like absolutely amazing. And let's be honest, right? The stuff that you've created since you've left teaching and the success that you've had, it is phenomenal. It's really easy to be sat down and go, oh, this person's like, but you put them on a pedestal. And I've watched many like business owners who are hyper successful stand on stage and talk and go, do you know what? I'm just like you. And there's elements of me that have sat there and gone, but you're not. Like, there's something different, and I want to know what it is, you know. and I've heard it probably hundreds of times, but I want to rewind a little bit. So obviously, there's a story where you was a teacher once upon a time. And then there's that switch from being a teacher into becoming a business owner. Can we go back to when you was a teacher? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself at that point, and then what happened to then that decision making time when you walked away from being a teacher into becoming more of a business owner and tutor?
Okay, so all this is taking place, and thank you so much, can I just say, for your very, very kind words.
You're welcome.
They didn't go unnoted. So what took me from being a teacher to, and we've used this expression, a 7-figure business owner within the tuition sphere? Well, first and foremost, it didn't happen overnight. So I'm going to take you back to 2013, 2012, because that was the time when I exited the classroom. So I'm talking the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if yourself or your group members or anybody listening to this would be familiar with a video that I did a couple of years ago called the Pit Pony video.
I'm very familiar with it.
Okay, the Pit Pony video, it's a great blueprint of how to leave the classroom with multiple income streams, but I didn't use the expression pit pony glibly. I really believe, and still do, that many teachers and many individuals in very limiting educational environments are pit ponies. So let me explain to you why I was an educational pit pony. For those who don't know what a pit pony is, by the way, because they weren't born and raised in the shadows of a colliery, a pit pony was an animal that was born underground. It was born in a pit, and it worked its entire life, the whole of its existence, completely unaware of a world outside of it. It was blinkered, it had tasks, it was told what to do, it had no freedom of choice. And then eventually, at retirement, was taken from underground into a field and hadn't got a clue what on earth they had been exposed to. And they ended up blind, they couldn't adjust to the light, they couldn't acclimatise to space and fresh air. I was that pit pony. I loved school. I was your top set kid in English who put a hand up, much to the annoyance of all of our other mates. Pick me. Play school. Loved it. My greatest heroes who I wanted to be were individual teachers. I loved everything about school. I loved everything about learning. And therefore, it was completely natural for me to want to be a teacher and emulate what I'd seen as a kid. But what I didn't realize the difference from a child to an adult in the education system is, whilst I was a child and being encouraged to be creative and learn and develop and come out of that experience a better and more rounded individual, it couldn't be more polar opposite when I went in as a teacher. I was task driven. I started teaching in 1994 and genuinely believed over a period of 19 years, de-skilled myself as an individual. I came out a lesser person than I was when I went in.
Yeah.
I was ruled by bells. I was given a timetable in September, a scheme of work that I had to follow. My inset and CPD was predetermined on a one-size-fits-all. Sat there on a twilight session on the 6th of September, being given the same information as an ECT, a PE teacher, someone who couldn't control a classroom in a million years. And we all got delivered the same kind of personal development. So over a period of time, and I know it's an overused expression, I lost myself. I lost all of the things that I loved about being in education as a kid and came out the educational pit pony, who in 2013, because personal circumstances had coalesced at the time. So in 2013, I was out of the classroom. My marriage had broken down. I had a repossession. I was signing on the dole with kids who I'd been head of year 11 for, and started at what could have been described as a personal rock bottom, but stood there in a field and had some serious choices to make. I knew I'd underachieved. I knew I was de-skilled, but I stood in a field and I could make a choice when I was in that field. Am I liberated or am I trapped forever? And at that point, I made some serious decisions. And to just give you a very brief and edited journey, because I talk a lot in life after teaching, but I don't tend to talk about the success of Connexus tuition. I keep that quite on the
and when we connected before, Sharon, like I kind of guessed at the success by how many there are, because like you can see that there's like a big network. But when we were talking, I think last week, like I was shocked by that, and I've been sharing that like with people really close. Like I couldn't quite believe that it got to that level. And like, don't get me wrong, like I obviously believe that tuition is one of those areas that a lot of teachers could get into and make a very healthy financial living and change their life forever. But I didn't believe that that kind of level was possible.
Well, it is. It's about scalability. It's all the things I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Having a clear North Star. It's about having business acumen. And of course, we're going to come on to talk about this in a little while. It's about having the right mindset. But like many people who have come out of the classroom, who are the pit ponies, tuition was something I knew I could do falling off a log. I was GCSE English. I could move a child up 2 sets in English in half a term, exam focused, know the mark scheme. Don't give them a piece to annotate and send them off and do all that. Tell them what they needed and do exam practice. It was pure old school tuition. Do this, learn this off by heart, apply it. And I started off driving around to people's houses in 2013 and knocking on doors and going in, and started the world of tuition there. And it was at that point, I think, I started to develop who I was as a business owner, because I had certain points throughout my journey where I had to rip a sticking plaster off, because I was never going to allow myself again to feel trapped in an environment. And if it's a business environment that I'd got myself trapped into, let me give you an example. there are only probably 3 hours in an evening where you can access children, 3 or 4. If you've pulled up at a house at 4 till 5 and that kid hasn't sat down at that table till 5:15, 4:15, if the mum's keeping you gabbing about how annoyed she is with her husband, and you've knocked on in your time, and then as you're leaving, oh, Sharon, I'm so sorry, I forgot to draw your money out. And you leave that house having had more than an hour of your time without a penny.
Yeah.
Imagine walking into your pub for your Sunday dinner. I'm sorry, we're going to be half an hour late. I've arrived half an hour late. Can I still have my table? Oh, and by the way, I forgot my money. Can I pay you next time I'm in? Absolutely not. So I had to, my first ripping of the sticking plaster was when I suddenly thought, oh, I've got my clients and I've got my money coming in, but I'm going to have to set a boundary. And I sent a group text and I was absolutely quaking. Dear all, as a small business, which always was my passive-aggressive start of saying, I'm about to tell you what you're not going to want. As a small business, you have booked a session from me from 4 till 5 and you have me for the full hour. I will require payment for 4 weeks in advance using, and all of a sudden, I watched kids ready for me at the table. I saw monthly payments dropping into my bank account, and I suddenly went, well, they clearly must value me.
Yeah.
My next sticking plaster was, that's great, but I'm not traveling around anymore. I want them around my kitchen table. The small business. I am no longer mobile. Your slot will be at my house, and I lost 50% of my clients.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That's not a problem at all because I replaced them like that. I then went from 1-to-1. As a small business, it is now my model to group those children around my kitchen table. We will no longer be charging you £30 an hour, but for £20, your child. And I moved my business model along at a point of pain when I became full or I was time poor. And I moved groups of children from around my kitchen table into a church hall. And I put another maths teacher at the side of me in 2014. And we started the Connexus business model of group tutoring in halls. And within 9 months of that, I was probably taking, because we had 2 tutors, probably had about 8 tutors in a church hall. I was taking about £1,200 a night.
That is crazy.
2 hours. 2 hours. And I did that 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
So by about 2014, by about the end of 2014, early 2015, bearing in mind I was signing on in 2013, I was probably doing a 12K month. And that didn't faze me.
Just for clarity, right? Let's just say that again. 12K months.
Yeah.
We're talking within sort of 12 to 18 months of you starting that business.
Yeah.
Signing on to 12K months.
Because that was my North Star. And I'll talk to you about my North Star.
Yeah.
It's an unwavering North Star. Because I had my North Star, I knew what it felt like and I knew what I had to do to get there. So it was about a 12K month. And all of a sudden I was able to start to make some real clear business decisions. And I then knew that the world of scale was everything in business. So in 2018, I'd watched the franchise model of Stagecoach, where they put dance, music, and drama under one roof.
Yeah.
So I went across to the Wirral. I worked with a franchise consultant who taught me everything I needed to know about franchising, and sold her my first franchise.
Yeah, but people who get it in business, they get it right. They don't have to be an expert in it, do they, to buy in and then grow that business? There's no
emotion. There's no emotion attached to business when you're in the world of business.
Yeah,
it's teachers who are empaths.
Yeah,
it's teachers who overthink and then in 2019, I started onboarding franchisees and developing a small head office team in Warrington. And the franchise model's great. You sell it for an initial fee, and then you take 10% of the revenue. You've got to build the business, guide them, train them, support them. So had a nice business of franchise sales. We still had head office territory classes, residual MSF, and then COVID struck, and the
Okay.
GCSEs were cancelled, and the GCSEs were cancelled, stats were
Yeah.
cancelled, and I
Yeah.
still remember being stood in a church hall, and everything's attached to my phone. I'll talk to you about the power of your phone in a bit.
Mm,
And we had a system of go cardless where we take payments on a direct debit.
yeah.
And just by cancelling year 11 alone at that point, I watched me and Sarah Dunwood, who's the
Yeah.
CEO of Connected, we watched 60k drown out the phone. Just went cancel, 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 cancel,
No.
cancel. So by July time, the government had asked businesses to apply for the National Tutoring Programme. If Randstad can do it, why can't we do it? So we put a bid in for the National Tutoring Programme, and we became one of the first 27 providers for the NTP. So what had become in the first instance our panic and concern, we played it to our advantage.
Mm,
And we have now delivered, I think, probably 250,000 hours of tuition
wow.
across schools in the UK,
Mm,
to the kids, who need it just as much as fee-paying kids. And as a result, the business within 10 years is a easy seven-figure turnover
yeah.
business. Probably not just one single figure turnover business when we take over the network.
Yeah.
And now we are a national tutoring provider. We have UK-based franchises. We have thousands and thousands of tutors who are in and out of our tutor network. And it's now a national company that started off with me driving around in a Ford Mondeo 10 years ago, standing there going, please shut up, I've three more to do after you. So you're absolutely correct. My starting point was the pit pony in a field,
Mm,
who has now had a journey right the way across to who's had that journey right the way across to business owner. And you're absolutely right. There are key things I can pull out of that which don't just apply to your average tutor.
yeah. 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 And that has to make sense, right? And it makes sense to me. And I might be, I think I mentioned this to you last time. There's there's levels to everything that we do, and sometimes it's about how much time someone spends on particular things. Like, for example, like we spoke about daily habits, which I'm really looking forward to hearing you talk about those particular things. But the longer you do certain things every single day, like they compound over time and they just start to add up, and not just add up, but it's that snowball effect.
Mm.
And so like your business is where it is because of the actions that you've taken for many, 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 many days and months and years. And like myself personally, I was that classic entrepreneur like for so many years, where I was reading the books and I was going to seminars and I was connecting with people, but like they're not doing anything. It was only when like you kind of call it that ripping that like sticky plaster off, and you go, I can't do it like this anymore. I've got to do something different. The tension is really high in my life. Something has to change. I was like, I'm going to force myself to do it. And then it wasn't quite as bad as what I thought it was going to be. Similar, like driving around to people's houses. Was it going to pay enough? Were people going to like me? Were people going to... And actually, the traditional way of teaching, like you mentioned, is really similar to the way that I do it. I don't like... Well, there's certain things that I didn't like in school. That's really obvious because that causes friction and stress because they don't, with your personal values, they go against them, and you're doing things which are not making a big difference, or in your opinion, they don't make a big difference. But here you are sat with someone, either on a one-to-one or in a small group, and you're just saying, this is the way that you can do it.
Yeah.
And we can do a whole... probably terms worth of work in just a few hours, just by looking at this is how you can actually do it, and everything's structured around that. And here we go.
We spent thousands looking at our key messaging around tuition. We worked with a brilliant guy called Bruce McKinnon who did our brand arrow. So we truly, truly understood what we did as tutors. And we got down to the most simplistic image. We bridge the gap between what is delivered in the classroom and what is received by the child.
Mm.
It is that simple.
Mm.
There's no overthink.
Mm.
What is delivered and what is received, there's a gap.
Yeah.
Because in a classroom, some kids get it because it's landed correctly. But the children sat in front of us have heard exactly the same messaging, have had exactly the same teaching mechanism, but they've received it differently.
Mm.
And that's what we do. We act as that conduit to explain where they need to get.
Yeah.
And it's those, I mean, we have the luxury of being able to do that and sit down as a network and really navel gaze about that. But if we look at going back to that idea of the entrepreneur and what makes the difference between somebody who has decided to go into the world of tuition and is successful and somebody who goes into the world of tuition and quite frankly has just created another job for themselves. Because that's the downside of tutoring. That if you go into tutoring and you are in a financial position where you just want to tutor for 12 hours a week, it's pin money, you've got a really good financial stable income from a spouse or a partner or your pension pot, and you want to do it as joy, fine, perfect. Tap yourself at 12 hours, turn kids away. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you are going into this, and I think this is the kind of listener that we would be interested in connecting with, and I'm sure they can resonate with us. When I left teaching, not only did I stand there as a pit pony, dazed that I could go to the toilet whenever I wanted, literally and metaphorically, I knew I'd underachieved. Because I'm going to take you back to the girl who was saying pick me. I was top of everything. I achieved in school and I massively underachieved as a teacher. And I did not know how underachievement felt because I'd not developed that resilience muscle at school because I was the top set kid. I waited for my name to be read out last when they were reading scores in reverse orders in the 80s, in that brutalistic way you used to be told where you were in the class. I didn't know how to cope with the fact that people younger than me were being appointed to positions above me.
Yeah.
My peer group were becoming head teachers and deputies. And here was me, call it arrogance or whatever you want, knowing deep down inside I'd underachieved within my relationship. I had underachieved within my profession. I had made no difference whatsoever in terms of education. I had kids, but I stood in that field and I thought there's got to be something more for me here.
I'll ask a question here. It's about the resilience, and it might be the link into the next bit. I don't know how many years ago it was now, and I don't even know what study it was, so I need to do a bit more research on this. But I remember, like, the studies now show, that's how it started, that some of us are born with more resilience than others, right? But resilience can be taught. So it's not like the end of the world. That was part of that. And it would have been an ed psych training because it would have been something to do with a position I was going into at school. And I remember thinking that's like quite an obvious statement, but also gives it validation in the classroom when you see that some children are just able to tackle those hard questions and others are absolutely crumble. But also in real life, when say real life adults in real life will be able to hear feedback in a particular way and take it and then use it, and others you have to be so careful with the words that you use. But if you're stood there in that field at that point when you're like in your like lowest of the low, you know, that's that for you would have been your rock bottom. Where do you think that resilience came from? Where do you think you learned that? Because even looking back at your, like what you would call like your successes in that early life and at school and really high achieving, and then never really having to kind of push back from a I'm not saying you never experienced setbacks, but not having to push back from something that's really low, like perhaps not passing a GCSE or not being able to get into something that, or maybe the sixth one that you wanted or the uni and those kind of things. Where does it come from at that point when you've never really experienced that before?
I think for me, I didn't see it in terms of resilience.
Okay.
So at the forefront of my mind, I didn't stand there and say, right, this is about resilience.
Mm.
I stood there and I realized that I'd been gifted a blueprint of what I didn't want my life to feel like.
Okay.
I had been given an absolute blueprint, a recipe of what I didn't want it to look like, feel like, or be like. And that's a powerful thing when you come out of teaching, because you can almost make a list and then do the complete opposite. I had a repossession. I had absolutely no money. So straight away, without question, without any form of guilt or shame or arrogance, I said, I want an abundance of wealth. I want money. I'd lost my house. I was signing on. We were living hand to mouth. So do you know what? I deserve financial wealth. Me and these kids are not going to live like this anymore.
Mm.
And from going from looking at school uniforms that were really, I don't know if I can get another month out of those school shoes, to
Mm.
after 18 months, my children were pupil premium kids.
Mm.
My children were pupil premium kids. And within 18 months, my son was going to Manchester Grammar and my daughter was going to Cransley, which were two fee-paying independent schools. And
Mm.
they were pupil premium kids.
It's like, what a crazy journey, isn't
Okay.
it? What a
Because
crazy
I
journey.
said, I don't want that anymore. This is what I want. And if it's what I want, I'm not going to attach all of those limiting self-beliefs that sit with, well, am I really worth money? You bet your life I am when I'm stood in that field and I've got nothing. So it is
Mm.
perfectly palatable for me to want money.
Mm.
I want joy in my life. I have
Mm.
been miserable for so long and trudging and underground. I want joy. I want to do stuff where I can sit with the sun on my face or have a house that I am proud of because I deserve it because of what I've gone through. I want financial wealth. I want joy. I want balance. I want health. I want a mental health. I want peace of mind. So I took all of the things that I was feeling at that point when I was leaving and completely listed the opposite. And they became my North Star. That was what I was working towards. So actually, and if I got that as my North Star, but I was feeling anxious, stood in a woman's kitchen, that wasn't heading me towards my North Star. If I was doing something because I'd undertaken a project when I was freelance, and fundamentally it was losing me money in time and petrol, that was taking me away from my North Star
Mm.
back to where I was before. So it wasn't necessarily resilience, that came later.
Okay.
It's knowing what I wanted and how it felt like. And the minute I felt unaligned on that path, it reminded me of how I was in the classroom.
Mm.
I was doing a day's supply or I was doing intervention in a school and I got that, well, hey, it's lovely to see you. Would you mind awfully just sharing your lesson plans with them? No, I'm not doing anything. You're not minute managing me on a freelance contract. I'm out of there because
Mm.
it feels unaligned. It's making me feel how I used to feel before. So I became very clear on almost having like a visceral or an emotional check-in with what I was doing. And in a sense, I suppose that built the resilience because if it didn't feel right, I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It does make sense. I mean, like from even from just standing there making that decision and going, this is it, this is my purpose, this is what I'm aiming for. And if I'm not on purpose,
Yeah.
I'm out. If I'm not on purpose, I am out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, it was almost brutal in many
Mm.
respects because I'd been that pit pony, I'd been the underdog. I was healing myself and I
Yeah.
was recovering from traumatic incidents that had happened to me,
Mm.
the teacher within my marriage, and I was healing all of those things by reprogramming my attitude to me.
Mm.
So I'm going to segue into how I did it.
Yeah, please. I mean, I'm already mesmerized by what you've just shared there. Like, and actually did get goosebumps as you start talking about that purpose and that drive towards it, and even like that bravery just to go no, because a no is a sentence, a full sentence, and I think people need
It
to
is, and
understand that.
it's no, because do you know what? My kids have been through enough.
Yeah,
I've been through enough, and I am damned if I'm getting out of the classroom and losing all of the benefits like a pension and the regular income and still being miserable.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
on my watch.
So
Not
yeah,
at all.
like the how part is again just so important. And I mean, I have taken already countless notes already, and I'm sure others will do exactly the same. And now I've got to find more space somewhere as you carry on, Sharon. But yeah, please keep sharing. It's
So,
amazing. Thank you.
so first and foremost, I want to talk about the mindset.
Mm.
The mindset of moving from that classroom pit pony to a boardroom entrepreneur. So moving from the classroom to the boardroom, from education to the world of business, but keeping all the best educational bits with you. Mindset. Mindset, mindset, mindset. You cannot go on social media without hearing the word mindset.
Yeah.
It's almost become misused, overused, devalued, diluted in its understanding. And people think they know what mindset is. It's like when you call the woman who's got your Starbucks, right, a legend. She's not a legend, really, is she? It's not an iconic hairdresser. So let's go back to mindset. We don't decide one morning to have a business mindset. We already have one. A mindset is your established set of attitudes. It is your self-perception. It is your inner self-talk. It is your frame of mind, and you already have it established. You already have a very, very strong business mindset. Now then, there are different types of business mindset, and listening to which two I'm going to talk about, you will decide which business mindset you have, not whether or not you have one. It is a given you have a business mindset.
Okay.
So I am going to say you're either in swim lane A or you're in swim lane B. You are either already entrepreneurial in your spirit. You are risk tolerant. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
You are success focused. You are optimistic. You have an abundant attitude to what lies ahead of you. You have a can do. We will succeed in this. And you have a very, very clear way of just adding one word to a sentence that determines what your business mindset is. Pay £40 an hour for one-to-one. Why would anyone pay me £40 an hour? Add the word not. Why would anyone not pay me £40 an hour?
Mm.
Which is your business mindset? Entrepreneurial, or are you led by fear? Are you negative? Do you have limiting self-beliefs? Do you have a limited money mindset that thinks no one will pay me that? I get 12 grand a month. Is she mad? I never get 12 grand a month. No, you won't. If you're in that swim lane, love.
Mm.
If you go 12 grand a month, I want a bit of that.
Yeah.
I can do that. If she's doing it, I can do it. You have an expectation it's going to fail. You overthink. You procrastinate. You attach too much importance on the minutiae, and you almost expect it to fail so you can congratulate yourself that you were right. Knew it'd never work. Knew it'd never work. So you're already got a business mindset. You just need to work out which one you've got.
That's really powerful, isn't it? That's
Because
really powerful.
people who sit in front of me, potential franchisees, and I go, what's your mindset? And I'm listening and listening and listening. And when a franchisee starts to talk about their territory that they want to buy, I know exactly which. There's a massive opportunity where I live. There's a brilliant grammar school. There's a huge community of well, I'm not really sure because there's lots of tutors in our area.
Mm.
Same situation. Are you abundant, success focused? Are you positive? Have you harnessed all of those things that keep you in that swim lane? Because it's so easy to go to swim lane B. Swim lane B is easy. And this is the difference. This is your competition. When you are at home designing your Facebook page, or when you are at home designing your first leaflet, I'll be able to tell you immediately which mindset designed which Facebook page. If I have a Facebook page from a mindset A that bursts off the screen, picture of yourself with kids promoting yourself, look how great I am, loads of social proof. You're lucky to have me. I've got limited places, but we can always work something out. Phone me for a chat, see if I can help. Or a picture of a bloody owl and something that doesn't want to show you because you've done a bit of clip art, because you're worried what your teacher friends are going to think. You've both designed a Facebook page. You've both got Facebook tools. You've both got exactly the same opportunities, but look how it was approached. And the same with a leaflet, the same with a telephone call, the same with absolutely everything you do in business. If your starting point is, this is never going to work, why would anybody buy from me? There's not enough kids out there. I was talking to a woman the other day. I was helping her set up as a tutor. Well, I don't, she only needed 20 hours. Well, I don't know because, I mean, there is a local set. She was a maths teacher in the local secondary school. She was leaving. And I said to her, how many kids are in that school? She went, 1,700.
Whoa.
I said, and you need 20 hours and you were the maths teacher there. Yeah, I suppose when you put it like that, I just threw my pen up in the air and thought, crack on, love.
Yeah.
Because nothing I say or do will ever let you see anything other than solutions waiting to become a problem.
Yeah. It's so, Sharon, do you ever find that there's times, because we're all human, and I'm probably just reflecting myself here more than anything else. Do you ever find that you accidentally swim into the other lane?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
100%. So good. What I then do is
everybody, Sharon's normal.
So what I then do is I have a toolkit.
Okay, great.
I have armbands, I have a float, I have a rubber ring, and I get right back into
I was hoping you had David Hasselhoff on the side ready to jump in and save you.
Well, now I will, after you said that.
Add him in.
Okay. That's going to go in my toolkit. Of course I do. And it doesn't start from scratch. I go back to the fact this has been 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Sure.
So now you've got it. Yeah. We all have a business mindset. We all have attitudes to money.
Yeah.
We all have a money mindset. Some of us have an abundant mindset where we believe we're worth every penny and some. You want me on a day rate? I'm going to make your eyes water. You know why? Because I'm worth every single penny. And the minute my throat closes about money, it says more about me. Person who. So money mindset, business mindset, we always have it. And I think money is one of the hardest ones to come across because particularly if you were brought up in a northern working class environment like I was, where people showed off. He's got a new car, he's showing off. We attach it to guilt, we attach it to shame, we attach I get shut of all of that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Do you know what money does? Money gives you the time and space to run a Facebook group for 130,000 people who need it the most.
Yeah.
Whilst a 7-figure business is going on in the background.
Yeah.
That's what money enables you to do. Yeah. Money, as you're talking, teachers out of a bathroom at 9 o'clock at night, like I have to do.
Yeah.
And that's the power of real money.
I mean that has so much meaning behind it, particularly where those people in that group have come from and need you at those particular moments. And then also knowing that, I mean, you said this before to me, like having that authority when someone speaks to you, they know what you're going to say. One works, but it carries so much weight. And I mean, you helped me with a friend of mine just a few weeks ago, and like you said, I didn't really say much, or you felt like you couldn't help her in that moment, but actually just because it was you made a big difference. And a few weeks on, There's applications being sent out to jobs. You can start to see that she's coming out now, and that was part of that process. And sometimes we don't even see the power that we have and the good that we do, even when, you know, we're doing it.
It's that invisible footprint that we have that we never realize. But if you adopt that attitude of actually having an abundance of wealth allows me the flexibility to do the things I really want to do, actually it becomes a bit more sanitized about taking home what I take home a month.
Yeah.
I don't have any guilt about it. I'm worth twice what I pay myself. Easy. So where did I start? Let's do some simple golden nuggets, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. This is what I've been waiting for.
I talked about my North Star.
Yeah.
All right. Straight away, get your journals and notebooks out. What do you want to achieve? Be big, be bold. And if you feel shame coming up when you're writing something, bloody put your pen down and work out why. Or do I feel as though I'm 10K a month? If it makes you feel awkward, sit with it and go, why? And really figure it. So get your clear North Star. Use your blueprint. Sorry,
Sharon. Like with the money, because I feel like money's the big barrier I found in the past. That kind of, I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. No one's going to want me. And then when they start putting these things down and they start putting those financial values in there, which I've always encouraged people to do, because I do think that it is that key to the next part of your creating your dream life. Now, some people might get very materialistic. My opinion is,
no.
You might see it like that, and you can change things around, but you have to dig deep into why you really think that.
So how to do some really, really crude psychoanalysis. You have to sit there and go, why do I feel like this about money? When have I felt like this about it before? When have I felt like it before? When was the first time I felt like this about money? And the chances are it will have been between the ages 0 and 7.
Yeah.
You will have had something predetermined, pre-wired into your system about what other families have that we don't. And it will have taken place, it will be an established set of attitudes that were probably established in childhood.
Yeah,
okay?
100%.
And one of the quick ways of doing that is you lie down, you picture that child, it's in a child work, you picture that child, you picture how that child was feeling. In your head, you go to that child and you tell them differently. And you sit with that child. This is all the stuff I've had to do. And you sit with that child and you have to love that child and say, I know you feel like this and it's perfectly understandable and it's perfectly acceptable, but that's now not how it's going to be for us. So there's a load you can look at healing your inner child when it comes to, and unlearning what have been really, really established beliefs around money, success. Every time you were a girl, there was a fine line between celebrating your success and the word showing off.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot we can do with regard to looking at inner child work. Go on. This was my saving grace, my phone. If I was listening to a podcast and I'd never heard of inner child before, I'd be down a rabbit hole at 3 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
I'd be going, what does she mean, inner child? What does she mean, healing that? Oh, there's a meditation I can do on it. There's somebody talking about it on YouTube. So I'm not going to give you the full psychoanalysis of the other child, but that's how you'll sort your money mindset.
Okay.
Perfect. So get your North Star. Then, this is the first thing I did. When I realized what kind of a mindset I wanted, when I realized I was the entrepreneurial, the go-getting, the success-driven, I went on a quest, not a journey like these Americans go on, Richard. I went on a quest to develop that mindset. So I started working around on my phone the people who were resonating with me, who were talking about this mindset. Louise Hay, Eckhart Tolle, Oprah Winfrey, Deepak Chopra, Bob Proctor, Robin Sharma. I was TED talking myself. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne became my Bible. The law of attraction was a rabbit hole I went down and immersed myself in. So I didn't just do it off the top of my head. I studied people who's made it their life mission to support people with a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And I consumed everything. I wasn't that person anymore, sat on the 6th of September being taught discipline for learning when a kid wouldn't dare breathe in my bloody classroom, let alone, and I was having to do reward charts and thinking, oh, I'm not doing that. Sit down, shut up, or I'm phoning your mother. So I did my own CPD. I did my own inset. I did my own person, and I didn't have a penny. So at that time, I was using the free resources that were on the internet. And then this was my turning point. I harnessed my social media. I harnessed my social media before I learned how to use it, before I nailed LinkedIn, before I did anything. I harnessed my social media because the last thing I needed, if I was keeping myself in swimline A, was sitting having a coffee with a friend going, and I'm going to charge £35 an hour. How much? You're going to charge? Do you think people will pay that, Sharon? Do you think they'll drive to your house? Oh, Sharon, Facebook's a bit of a nightmare. Do you really want to be putting your face on Facebook? You are out.
Okay.
You're not aligned with me. And you're certainly not aligned with me on social media if you're checking into the hospital every 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And also, why would I want Kelly 3 doors down the road's newsfeed coming into my Facebook when if I give her £1 million, her status would be, just been given £1 million, when the bloody hell am I going to find time to spend that? You're out. You're out. What I am going to do is I didn't unfriend them. I just unfollowed them.
Yes.
So I made sure Louise Hay and Oprah Winfrey and friends who were in business, AJ Vazdev was a businessman in Stockport who was a huge supporter and advocate of me.
Okay.
I followed what he was saying. So when I was still scrolling, which I loved, what was coming out of my Facebook was aligning me and speaking to me to keep me in that swim lane. And actually, it became a really palpable response when somebody wasn't in it. And friends, it's not a problem. I'll stay your friend, but I won't talk to you about my business because I want to create an echo chamber of alignment. I want to surround myself with people who can do, who go, yeah, you'll smash that. Oh my God, Sharon, the amount of kids who'll come to you from Lim. Right, you need to factor in more hours compared to there's a job going at Thelwall Juniors. Why don't you just go for that? It's only part-time. So I harnessed my social media. I created an aligned echo chamber. I used my social media as well for my own development and education. Quotes, articles, podcasts, YouTube. I didn't watch Netflix for about 3 years because I was watching TED Talks. I was going on 5-day challenges. I was on this quest to become that kind of person who immersed herself in a business world. I went to networking meetings, rocked up at hotels as the imposter in the room, but realized actually I wasn't the imposter in the room because I wasn't selling multi-level marketing. I wasn't touting my words around because I'd got a cupcake business or whatever. I was a tutor. And 9 times out of 10, every time I went to a network meeting, somebody booked me for the kid anyway.
Yeah.
Or I picked up some really solid advice on marketing, finance, onboarding software. So I was doing mindset and learning about the world of business.
Yeah.
Because in that field, I had choices. I could create my own timetable and my own CPD. So I immersed myself in a business world. I streamlined my friends. I streamlined my social media. And that was a really great platform. And then I looked at what tools I could use. The harnessing of the mind. What can I do to stop this overthink? What can I do to stop myself naturally going back to my default position of 40 years? I journaled. I could stack my journals high. And I used to sit in the kitchen and I used to journal in the future present tense. Can't believe today, head office was fantastic. Still one-to-one driving around. Head office was fantastic. Coming back from Mauritius was particularly tight. I just did fantasy journals about what my life was going to be like and the abundance of wealth that I had. I planned franchising in 2014 before I really knew what a franchise was. I called them hubs. My hubs are working really well. So I journaled in the future present tense.
Wow, that I've not really heard of that one before. I've
Oh,
done a lot of
that
research.
was my day.
That's correct. That's just, and that is really comes from that manifestation, doesn't it? Like you're just going to go forward. It's like the polar opposite of the inner child almost. You're talking to your future self. Yeah, you're just going to go.
100%. The
Yeah.
best meditation I do, because I meditate 4 times a day, the best meditation I do is I walk through a forest and I come to a triangulation in the woods and I'm there as my present self. My 80-year-old self is there and my 8-year-old self is there. We all have a really good chat and
Yeah.
we all high five each other about how well we're doing.
Yeah.
But the journaling was important. And then at the back of the journal was my gratitudes. I live in a permanent state of gratitude. Even when I am at my lowest, I dig myself out with gratitude, counting my blessings. So not only was I journaling, but before I even put my feet on the floor in a morning, I was grateful for 10 things. And I was grateful for when I had 30 quid in my purse and I was in rented accommodation and it was signing on day. Because if you can keep that buoyancy of gratitude, it stops you feeling self-pity. It stops you feeling that everybody else is doing it. Even if your default position as a tutor outside of the classroom, if you are feeling though it's been just the driest day in the world, you thank the Lord and the universe you're not in that classroom. And the minute you go, thank God I'm not back there on dinner duty.
Yeah.
Lift.
Yeah. 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 I bet
So
there's lots of us sitting there thinking that right now, that if you've created your life outside of
yeah,
teaching, there's just times you sat there going, I sometimes catch myself and do the time, what would I usually be doing? And I'm like, oh my God, thank
yes.
God I'm not doing that right now.
And to actually be in a position where I'm queuing up on a Thursday afternoon because I can shop,
Yeah.
I can go on holiday in term times.
Yeah.
Can have my lunch when I want to. I can look after myself more. So even at my lowest points, how did I get myself out of swim lane B? If I was feeling low, because I check in with myself all the time, I don't allow my feelings to take over. I feel it in my stomach, I feel it in my heart, I feel it in my head. And if my mood's low, and they'll tell me this at head office, you're low. Yeah, no.
Mm,
So I know what I need to go and do. I need to go home and meditate. I need to go and do
mm,
my gratitudes. I need to journal because your vibration goes up and down all the time. So if your vibration is lowering, you
mm,
journal. You journal in that future tense. You do your gratitudes. You then adopt self-care and self-love. And self-care is not putting a bloody face pack on. Self-care is how you talk to yourself. Self-care is how compassionate you are with yourself. And as soon as I'm in swim lane B, I'm not good enough. Can't believe that's bloody happened. And my inner talk starts to spiral me even deeper into that swim lane. So actually, I stop talking to myself and I imagine I am parenting myself. Would I tell Ellie she's not good enough if she tried her hardest?
mm.
Would I tell her she's rubbish? Would I? No. So I don't talk to myself. I step out of myself and I parent myself. And I stop myself going, who do you think you're talking to? I defend myself.
Everybody needs to write that down because we don't do that enough. We don't take care of ourselves and we're so harsh. Like
Yeah,
we're always so harsh on ourselves. I did a workshop yesterday and we were talking about similar things and we were talking about that whole kind of your self-talk. I read a book ages ago. The guy called it mind chatter. You've got to take care of your mind chatter. Now, would we, if we had a child in our classroom who exactly what you said, just tried really hard but didn't quite get it, would you go, oh my God, you're so rubbish?
yeah. What was
Yeah.
even the point?
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen. So I split my personality in my own head.
Okay.
And I actually defend myself from my voice that's attacking me. Who do you think
Okay.
you're speaking to? Don't you dare speak to her like that.
Mm.
Do you know what she's come through? Do you know what she's capable of? And I can't do it as one voice. I have to put personalities in my own head. And I know that might sound really off the wall, but I can't talk to myself nicely unless I'm aware of who's doing the talking.
Mm.
So I parent myself, and I parent myself in a good way as well.
Mm.
No, you're not having that. You've already had 15 vanilla slices. Do you really need that 16? But the minute you become aware of your different
Yeah.
voices, and of course, that's the chimp paradox. The chimp
Yeah.
paradox is the best book you can read in the universe. It's the game changer of harnessing your thoughts. So, gratitude.
Mm.
Gratitude is the one. How you talk to yourself, how you establish recognizing when you're talking to yourself in a bad way. Because the minute you recognize you're doing it and you become aware, it halts you. You're all doing it
Mm.
again. Have you heard me? I'd go toe to toe with someone who spoke to me like that in the street. You're rubbish. Who are you talking to? Oh, but it's okay to say that to myself.
Yeah.
So it's drawing that awareness to all of these things that were happening. So I'd harnessed my social media. I was realigning friendship groups with what I did and didn't share with them. I was journaling and manifesting, meditating, guided meditation on YouTube. It takes ages to settle into a good meditation because your mind's chattering and going mad, and that's okay. You just learn to waft your thoughts away like clouds. Go and learn how to meditate. Go and research it. Because if
You mentioned somebody the other day I saw in the group, and I was going to write it down. I think I was away and I didn't take a screenshot or a note. Who was it that you listened to? You said I take him to bed, and that made me giggle.
me and Jason Stevenson go to bed every
Right.
night,
Okay.
sometimes if he's lucky in the middle of the afternoon. And Jason Stevenson has got a guided meditation for everything. And
Okay.
the first thing a meditation will do is a full body scan.
Right.
It brings your focus to your breath. And the chances are you are lying there with short, shallow breath because you are in anxiety. And
Mm.
even if you find yourself anxious and you just spend 5 minutes every day breathing in for 4, holding it for 2, and breathing out for 5,
Mm.
it slows you down.
Mm.
It makes your days longer.
Mm.
And being aware of your breathing, then it will do a full body check, relaxing your shoulders, and you just ease into this feeling of calm. And then your mind is guided into a meditation. It's 15 minutes. And that reset in a day
Mm.
keeps you in a swim lane of an A because
Mm.
you are not overthinking, you're not noisy. All of the things, all of those characteristics that you want to be, that can-do culture, that control that you have, that
Mm.
positivity, that risk tolerant, because actually you become quite philosophical. What if it doesn't work? All right. If it doesn't work, what's the worst that's going to happen? Because swim lane B is catastrophization 101. Let's make a decision to do something and focus on every single thing that's going to go wrong. No.
Mm.
Let's make a decision. Let's stress test it, see what happens, work out what's gone wrong and how we can make it better, work out what's gone right, and build on that.
Mm.
Same situation. How I deal with it and how I come at it with my mindset is going to get better results. So if you are in a position where you are saying, why are people more successful than me? It's that. It is as simple as that. It's simple, but it's not easy. And there is a big difference. What I have talked about are simplistic, very, very clear, saleable solutions to a problem. To actually maintain it has taken 10 years of
Mm.
practice. I've had life coaching, counselling, retreats. I've signed up to more 5-day challenges. I have ensured my social circle, my work colleagues, my franchisees are absolutely of the same mindset. If I get a franchisee through the door with that mindset, wow, they are VAT registered within months. They are rocking and they are rolling. And our franchisee network generally has the same ethos as the Life After Teaching. Now you've got to know me, you can pretty much see why we manage to control and keep in a swim lane of a positive 130,000 people. And we don't have any keyboard warriors.
Yeah, that's pretty much the like the pinnacle of social media management right there, because anybody who's been on any social media platform, doesn't matter which one, people with millions of followers are also followed by millions of trolls. And you go on a Twitter feed and it's just, you know, 50, it really is. And even if that post is super positive, there will still be people drawing out a negative out of somewhere.
So knowing me, queen of social media, all over LinkedIn, all over Facebook, guess what platform I'm not on?
It's Twitter. It's got to be. Yeah, because of that, because you can't control that comment section,
because
can
it's
you?
going to put me. It's not about control. The impact it's going to have on my mindset. It's unaligned with Swimline A. I know before I even go in that it's carnage. I know people are horrible on it. So why am I going to want to spend time on it? How is it going to serve me? It isn't. What's it? It's going to mean I'm going to sell a franchise. No, on Twitter, I'm not. Does it mean I'm going to develop a persona in the world of education? Already have. Already done it with my people. So that was a decision I tried a couple of months ago, probably last year. I thought, right, I'm going to dip my toe in Twitter. And I went in and out. I was like, oh, that's horrible. So do I stay in that environment and try and make it work? Absolutely not. I'm off. Remember the sticking plaster? See ya. You're not aligned to my North Star. Sorry, Twitter, Elon Musk or whatever his name is. Me and thee are never going to go. We're not going to be together because you don't serve me. Facebook does. My Facebook group, my Facebook pages, my personal profile, LinkedIn, high five. LinkedIn's fantastic. And I think that is a really, really key example to why I didn't have any energy wasted where I didn't need it to be. I was in a toxic school after I left. I walked. Toxic parents, see you, go and find another tutor. Toxic form on social media. This makes me feel the way I used to feel. It's not for me. And it's the power of saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. What can we make this right, Sharon? Because I feel we've got off on a bad foot. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Which again, let's go back to that work that you put in. Like that is, I do actually probably believe, and it's me assuming that you probably quite like that at the beginning anyway. But for some people, they might have to put that work in to get to the point where they say no. Does that make sense? Like developing that mindset towards actually, I'm okay at saying no because there's something else coming along. Because a lot of the tutors that I talk to, they're just so scared about finding new clients, so therefore they find
they're in a scarcity mindset.
So they say yes, 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 even though they know it's going to be really hard work and stressful because they don't know whether someone else is coming along. And you have to develop this mindset of it doesn't matter because you know there's more people about to come your way. This is the wrong person for you. And you are probably going to be the wrong person for them as well. Just let them go and find someone else, and better people are about to knock on your door.
And that comes with a mantra. Every morning when I get up, I meditate, get myself ready, come downstairs, I make my smoothie, and playing through the house is Jason Stevenson's morning affirmations. I am successful. I am worthy. That's what's in my head. I'm not planning what I've got to do for the day. I'm not going through my to-do list while I'm trying to do something else. I meditate and I have my mantras. I am worthy. I am successful. I am wealthy. The law of attraction, I even know them off by heart because I play them that many times. The law of attraction is working for me. Money is coming to me and through me. Right. That's what I'm focused on. I don't think you can immerse yourself in those kind of practices where you are journaling, where you are grateful, where you've got your mantras and your meditations and doing all the inner work, and then go on then, I'll let him come for £12.50 for 3 hours.
No, I
The
totally
two
agree.
come together.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of you start doing it and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and go, no, I'm worth it. We make mistakes. We start, and we do. We're human beings. Somebody offers you 20 quid, you don't hang out for the £50 an hour because you take the 20 quid then. That's human nature. And you know what? When I did that to begin with, or when I took on franchisees in the first instance that weren't the greatest and best of fits, or I've made poor judgment calls, I forgive myself. I say, well, you did that then at the time because that's what you needed to do. You made that decision for what was right for you and the kids at the time. It's not the decision that's right for you. My NLP, my inner self-talk kicks in, and I thank myself for making that decision. I go, well done. It was the right decision at the time. Let's get you out of it now. Now, I am talking 10 years of this. I am talking 10 years of healing, 10 years of a mindset, 10 years of a way of life. But 10 years, let's go back to the original starting point. 10 years, March 2013, signing on, to April 2023, 7 figures.
Yeah.
Going from a repossession to owning my own house.
Yeah.
Having multiple properties in a portfolio. To having a business that now has 7 members of a head office team, fully paid, pensions. They don't know they're born. I pay for their medical insurance. I pay for them to have cleaners. They have a bloody good deal with
I
me.
went home after we met last week briefly. I went home and said, "Oh, yeah, I met with Sharon," and I was telling my other half, and I was saying about the stuff you said about head office, and she was like, "Well, how do you apply?" Because she was like, I was like, "Well, hold on a minute. I'll clean up. Come on." I was, it's a long way to travel for me, to be fair, but that, just that and the way that you look after people, like that is, I can see that's an ethos that's not just about you helping people in like your group and your franchises. It's everywhere. Because
let's go back to money mindset. What's the greatest gift it gave me? Generosity. It gave me generosity. You give with 2 hands.
Yeah.
You give with 2 hands. So every time you share your wealth, and it's not just about that. You said to me, you know, I give a lot of value for free about how to set up a tuition business, how to do all this. I'm generous. I can afford to be. Do you know why? Because if somebody wants to go out there and set up their own tuition business and make a raging success of it, brilliant. Or if somebody wants to buy a franchise from me and I will do it with them, brilliant. Because guess what? There's an abundance of wealth out there. There's abundance of kids out there. There's not a limited amount. We're never going to run out. So why don't we work together as a community to help each other and embrace that success? Because by doing so, I can guarantee you will feel better. Do not ever have a scarcity mindset. You have your boundaries. You're not generous to the fault where it's to your own detriment, like chatting to the woman for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know your boundaries and you can make your judgment calls. But my evenings in the main are spent talking to people from life after teaching. I'm not just going to say this because I know this is the case. We have saved lives. Not changed lives, not improved lives, but that Facebook group that started with Sarah Dunwood during lockdown has saved lives. I could not do that if I was still at a door listening to Keely talk about how her fella's not cut the lawn. I couldn't do that unless I put a value on what I bring to a child. £40 an hour. And this is how I did it. Mine was 30. What is that parent and that child getting for £30 an hour? Right. They are not getting an hour's of tuition. They are not getting your planning and preparation time. Not interested in that. I used to put my bag on my shoulder and say, what are you doing? Let's crack on. They're not getting that. That's what they are paying for. That's the cost. Right. What value am I bringing in that hour?
Mm.
I am never, ever, ever going to know the true value of what I did for £30 an hour. But let's just go on a little journey and assume something. Let's assume that child suddenly starts to feel good about going to English. Let's just assume that child starts to do homework because they're actually getting positive reinforcement back from a teacher. Let's just assume that child gets a 6, not a 3, and actually gets on a different college course than they could ever have done without that grade. Let's assume that college course puts them at a university that they never really thought they would ever be going to. And at that university, that child meets the person they're meant to be with for the rest of their life. At the same time, that mother is watching their child flourish, is getting peace of mind, is stop feeling sick at the thought of parents' evening, is not finding homework undone, is not getting letters from a head of year saying your child is underachieving. And actually, their relationship has improved during school because for that hour, that child has suddenly had something sparked within them that makes them believe something different about school. Now, as a parent, how much would you pay for that per hour?
And everybody needs to write this down because you've just written your sales page, everybody. This is it. Right? You've got to start selling the value that you bring. And sometimes it's hard to capture, but I think you've just done it.
Or you believe it. You believe it, which is why you can then say no to somebody who wants to haggle.
It's that forward thinking, isn't it? And I think we have that as teachers. We have that in us already because that's why we wanted to do the job in the first place. It was to make that impact of children's life. Yeah.
But if you believe that, if you believe that's what you're going to do,
they're lucky to have you.
Yes. Why would they not pay it? In fact, I'm giving it away.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got the mindset, then because you've worked that through, you've suddenly gone 40 quid an hour for that. I am giving it away. That is absolute gold dust, the difference I'm making. You almost get to the point where you can't put a price on it. You cannot put a price on what you're offering because it is of too much value. So do you know what? Nominally, I'm going to accept £35 an hour off you just so you don't feel embarrassed. And if you've got that in your head, hi, is there any wiggle room on the price? No, it's £35 an hour. That's right. If you want feedback, I can stop the lesson 15 minutes beforehand and we can do it then. No, I don't set homework because it's within the hour. If you want me to set homework, I can mark it while I'm with him within the hour. That's not a problem at all. So do you want me tutoring or do you want me marking homework? They'll zip like that.
Yeah.
Do you want feedback? Yes, within the hour, zip.
This is also similar for one-to-one work as well. For people looking, a massive question I get asked all the time, I want to do groups, don't know how to do it. And it's like, we'll set up groups and start saying no to one-to-ones, like start filtering them in and be really like, you start saying no. I had this last week. Someone came to me and I was like, well, I only do one-to-ones with SEN, right? And I have a very limited amount of time. And I do it because I like doing it, because I could still have that time for groups and earn more money. But I like doing it. It's something which I think for me, it's the right thing to do. Again, that's just like my personal ethos on it. Parents sat with me last week. They was like, look, I want to convince you why my child needs one-to-one. And I listened and I listened. And I said, look, it's not SEN. It's the only reason I do it. And I'm happy to find you a one-to-one tutor. If that is what you think's best. I said, I've got a network of tutors I can point you to. But if you want one-to-one, it's not going to be with me.
Do you know what I used to say? Imagine you've walked into a Chinese restaurant and you are now saying to the waiter, you're convincing them you want them to make an Indian dish. Not what we do.
It's different. Yes.
Totally different.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you can't have it. You just can't have it here.
Yeah. That's it.
And then that's what I used to say. I will recommend you and I can send you elsewhere, but I don't do it. And then I used to use the Chinese and Indian restaurant. And I was
Sharon, did you find though that they would then go, oh, okay then, because
Yeah.
they already want you, don't they? That's the thing. They already want you've already done the selling part.
That's what they're bargaining for.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
not bargaining for group. They want me
Yeah.
on a one-to-one.
Yeah.
So how I managed to move from one-to-one to groups elsewhere, this was my secret trick. I always gave notice. I gave notice with a cut-off point. I'm not going to leave you in the lurch, but the one-to-one slot, unfortunately, will not be available after next half term. So I'm giving you 6 weeks notice to find another one-to-one. If he still wants me, it will be to join a small group at the same time. But I'm not, but Sharon, he wants you on a one-to-one. I'm not, and then I would go, that's like coming into a Chinese restaurant and asking them to make an Indian meal. My business isn't doing that anymore. I've changed my model. But he wants, but that's not fair. He's been loving coming to, he still can. There's going to be 2 other kids sat with him. And I had a plaster for every cut because, like what you were saying, she just wanted me on a one-to-one. Well, actually, one-to-one's not an issue. If you want one-to-one, it's not with me. If you want me, it's in a group. You've got your choice. And I'm also giving you notice to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I'd do a softener. All right, why don't we try it? Why don't we just get in first week back after half term? Because I know damn well you won't get a one-to-one at this stage in the year. Why don't we just bring him along and see what he thinks? And I literally cartwheeled through that session. Sweet phrase, bouncing with a bit of banter. And he came out and he went, yeah, it was I learned loads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah. Yeah, overserve. Well, we should try to overserve, but that's the point, right? You're getting them in there, so that free one, they're they're kind of maybe sluggish on their way in, but they're bouncing on the way out.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then at that point, they've got me. Yeah. I'm happy. The parents happy. The kids happy.
Win for everybody.
But it was that you can still have one-to-one. It's
just
not me.
Yes. Yeah.
But he wants you. Well, it's in a group, and you almost get yourself going around in this circle until eventually one of you cracks, and it's not me. Because that's not aligning me with my North Star. Because actually, you're limiting me to 30 quid an hour when I could be looking at, in a group tuition situation, in a hall, 400 quid for that hour. And the minute you have that figure in your head, and she drives off in a BMW to her husband, who's got a great job as a webcom designer, I then go, what would you have said to me? You'd have gone, no. Because I've got a 5-bed detached house in Appleton Thorn, and you ain't got that by being soft. And it was those kind of framing conversations I was having, because I want to be provincial and I want to stay small and I want to have limiting money beliefs. I'm going to give you what you want. No, I have got so many hours after school to make as much money as possible and serve as many kids as possible, because my North Star is not signing on in a 2-bed terrace that was in my best mate's house. And I'm going to have to make difficult decisions. And that's where the resilience came from. It wasn't, I'm now going to become resilient. My story and my context gave me the resilience, because I was able to step back and look at my circumstances and go, hang on a minute. She's going to Maldives for the summer and we're going to Towin for a weekend. Now, if you want me, it's group, or you find someone else. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Because I want to go to the Maldives.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where my resilience came.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, this. I mean, I'm sure I've just been listening, Sharon. I haven't taken as many notes as what I wanted to, but so I'm going to have to rewatch it again and then take notes over, because there's just so many things here which I know will, one, support the growth of the mindset, but also with people just making those decisions based on that. Lots of people get stuck in the decision making process just because they don't put themselves in the right frame of mind beforehand. And the money side, creating groups, taking the hit in the business so that it can grow even further, those kind of things, and knowing there's people coming at you, the other side of someone saying no, there's always more people. Switching to the abundance. There was a few things a little while back which I wrote down, which I'd love to put back out there, like it was that continuous development. So you were saying about life coaching, counseling. You even mentioned the vibration stuff, which this is something which was new to me about 2 years ago. I read someone recommended reading the Kabbalion. Have you read that?
No.
There's a whole chapter. It's very similar to The Secret. But there's a chapter in there about vibrations, and I talk about this now with my family. Think I'm absolutely mental when I start talking about this stuff, because there's certain things that we vibe with and certain things that we don't. We are literally bundles of energy.
We are energy
that are
and
vibrating.
And that's where money flows through you and to you. And if you constrict it, you are stopping the energy flow of money.
But people don't listen to their own vibrations, and they also reject the vibrations that are coming towards them. And so it's things like where you get your gut instinct from. Something's happening. There's an energy coming towards you that doesn't feel right. You can start recognizing those sorts of things and going, hold on a minute. And and you can train yourself, which is what Sharon, you're basically sharing this. It's like something doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right because it's not aligning me with my North Star. I can recognize it. So the answer's no.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's quite harsh. And we're going to be, if we're working with clients or you're onboarding people, there's still ways that we can word things so it's all like everyone knows exactly where they stand. So it doesn't have to be a harshness. It's just, if it's not going to serve you, stop doing it.
And actually, don't overthink how it's done. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to have to decline.
Yeah.
And you just, it's not even about how you deliver it. It's the force with which you say it and you believe it. And saying no isn't how you say no. It's how you feel after you've walked away. God, I've just given up. And you do some quick maths and you go, she'd have paid me £40 an hour. She wanted 2 hours. That's 80 quid a week. It was 106. I've just let go 320 pounds. Whatever.
Done that before.
Whatever. Go and search how many kids are in your postcode area.
Yeah, because you will be, your mind will be blown. Yeah, your mind will be blown.
Search on the DFE spreadsheet how many kids are in your area. And I'm telling you now, it will be tens upon tens upon tens of thousands.
And I don't know whether people know this, but new children are born all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like this cycle. Like
and also, I don't think what we need to remember as well is our education system fundamentally is wrecked.
Yeah.
Wrecked.
Yeah.
We've got classes of 30. We've got teachers on their knees. They've got a curriculum where you need a reading age of 16 to access any question on the GCSE. We have very little tiered entry. We have very little differentiation. We have GCSE exams that are designed to test content, not skills. It is the perfect storm for tuition. The perfect storm for tuition. Sadly, we have a wealth of work taking place in the day with the National Tutoring Programme. You go back, when I first started tutoring, tuition was an outlaw. Kids didn't even tell their teachers they had a tutor for fear of getting in trouble. And schools, tuition was the children at our school don't need tutors. Our teachers do a perfectly good job. And in 2020, there was a masterclass in rewording. If the government had have talked about the National Intervention Programme, we would not be sat where we are today. The government went the National Tutoring Programme. So now senior leadership teams and schools and parents talk about tutoring as part of educational parlance. That was not the case 3 years ago. There are budgets for tuition. Yeah. The tuition budget is about to sit within the pupil premium pot of schools. There's a triangle. And the top of the second part of the triangle for best practice of use with pupil premium funding is tutoring. That is absolutely mind-blowing over 3 years. The government has pumped billions into a national tutoring programme. Every single child from whichever socioeconomic background has access to a tutor. And you're sat there panicking that you've said no to a parent. There is a national wave of demand for tutors. Do you know the biggest block we have as a business is finding tutors? Not kids, not schools. Finding tutors. There's a scarcity of tutors out there.
People don't believe me when I say this, though. Because
my God! I speak to one of my friends is Mel William Brown. She's head honcho at Pearson's, and we talk all the time about tutors. Cannot get tutors because there's a scarcity about them. Well, you adopt that knowledge and that attitude when you're positioning yourself in the business world. You're in demand. You are an umbrella in monsoon season. So actually hold your worth with what you can do. It is possible. So let's just start to pull this back together, and let's just revisit a couple of key things. Wherever you are, you have a mindset. You have either a really strong swim lane A, a strong swim lane B, or you're a little bit in the middle and can do with some work to move you across to swim lane A. And I think that's where most people are hoping to be. But there are some people who probably recognize that they are way entrenched in that B swim lane. But you now know there are swim lanes. You might not have known that before. So that's power. So you're automatically empowered by the fact you know your mindset is not where it needs to be. Big tick. You know that all the characteristics of a really robust, a successful entrepreneurial mindset are available to you. You asked me a question, is resilience something that's born? Is it in its DNA? I believe we are all born with the same level, the same opportunities, the same luck, the same mindset. We encounter different things in our life that push us more across into the B, but fundamentally, our human brain, our purpose wants to be in A. That's what we were put on the planet to be. A is where we should be. B shouldn't be our default position. Because actually, when you were born, you were probably born with an A, but you've defaulted to B over a period of time. So it's relearning back in. There are some key takeaways. In order to maintain a B, a mild B and an A, harness your social media, get an echo chamber of alignment, be aware when things are not aligned to how you should be feeling. Have a clear North Star with the most phenomenal things on it. Do you know what's on my North Star at the moment? My next house, I'm having a swimming pool.
Nice.
100%.
Yeah.
Almost like it's like an obsession.
Have you been looking at some?
I'm living in it in my own head.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm living in that house in my head. I do not look single house on Rightmove unless it's got a swimming pool. Why would I? Because it's not serving me. Anyway, get your North Star. Get your North Star. What do I want? And I don't care how big, bold, whatever, because that's what I'm working towards. And anything that does not take me to that North Star and detract me off that path, that's your no. That is your absolute no. Go and educate yourself. Go and spend hours down rabbit holes in your phone, TED Talks. I'll tell you the best one to listen to at the moment is The Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So
go and listen. Go and listen to Jimmy Carr. Go and listen to Russell Kane. Go and listen to Dr. Bob Peters. Listen to what Stephen Bartlett says inside and out, day in, day out. Practically every single one of the podcasts he delivers is on this stuff.
And it's free. It's
brilliant.
It is unbelievable. It is an unbelievable piece of resource that. Yeah.
So if you're driving somewhere, get that on. If you're making your tea at night, have that on. Make it a quest. Remember, it's not something you dip in and out of. It becomes your quest. And eventually, you're absolutely right, Richard, it becomes your practice. Right? You then start to harness the mind. You read the chimp paradox. You start to meditate. You start to check in with yourself emotionally. But my most important one is you underpin absolutely everything you do with a gratitude that you are taking yet another breath.
Mm.
Because at this very moment in time, at 11:11 on the 21st of April 2023, I will guarantee you, and 11:11 is so significant to the universe, it's untrue.
Yeah.
I will guarantee you that somebody will be sat in a doctor's surgery now, being told that they need to get their affairs in order, that they will not see Christmas, that
Mm.
come to the end of the line.
Mm.
Somebody will not have the gift that you have right now, which is the opportunity to plan.
Mm.
And I don't want that to sound morbid or anything like that, but just picture that, because every single day you get up, you've got choices.
Mm.
You either choose an A or a B. You choose to be grateful or you choose to have self-pity.
Mm.
Choose to work to your North Star, or you sit there licking your wounds saying this is never going to happen.
This is so, I mean, this is such good advice, so powerful.
If you
And
look at
it's
Stephen
huge.
Bartlett, if you look at Jimmy Carr,
Yeah.
if you look at Simon Cowell, if you look at Oprah Winfrey, Jim Carrey, you
Mm.
look at all of the people who burst through the boundaries of their field. Oprah Winfrey was a chat show host.
Mm.
Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at all the other chat show hosts. Why is Oprah Winfrey
Mm.
where she is and Des O'Connor isn't?
Mm.
Okay? Why have these people burst through? Why did I start driving round 10 years ago and sat here now with a 7-figure business and
Mm.
the people were, what makes me different than you?
Mm.
Well, you've just had a masterclass in it.
Yeah.
That's the answer. It's not a leaflet. It's not what I put on my Facebook page. It's not how I dealt or identified an ideal client. I did all that stuff as well.
Mm.
I developed a really slick onboarding system for parents, direct debiting payments, great website, videos. I'm brilliant at business.
Mm.
Believe me, I've packaged businesses in boxes for tuition business. They are speed to market, 100%.
Mm.
The business side of things, I am untouchable where that's concerned, where tuition's concerned. But that's all well and good having that, unless my foundation is exactly what I have just talked about. And I am evangelical. Our head office, we've all got Shakti mats. We've all read they become the disciples of this way of thinking because the gang is completely aligned.
Mm.
We set targets that we know we're going to smash. Sometimes we don't even set targets for fear of limiting ourselves. But that's by the by. So I hope there's enough there for you, Richard, to start to
Yeah.
go away. But what I am doing, and I would like to mention, if I may, for the
Yeah.
first time this year, on the 22nd of September, which is a Friday, we're having a tutors conference. We are having a tutors conference in the northwest of England at a beautiful 5-star hotel. There's some training in the day, there's mindset training, there's business training. In the afternoon, our keynote speaker is Drew Povey, who wrote the book When the Clouds Come. He was educating Greater Manchester. I'm doing a keynote speech.
How do we get tickets?
I'm going to get the tickets I'm going to drop the link to the tickets when
Okay.
we're ready to put this out. In the evening, we're having a disco. We've got a drag act. It's going to be phenomenal. And it's superb. We pay for all your meals and everything. The ticket price is £75, but it pays for all your meals. It pays for all the speakers. And we're opening it up. The franchisees will be there. I know it's going to be limited,
Yeah.
but I'm probably going to drop it into this group first to give them
Okay.
first refusal kind of thing. But you get to spend time with
Mm.
people who are, we're doing great courses like how you can skill yourself up from SATs to GCSE English. You know, that kind of, so you get your really good stuff. And then you can join our tutors network that we have, which is a mighty network that's dedicated to just serving tutors. We've got a great deal. I build communities. That's what I do.
Mm.
And I also share and encourage becoming part of other people's communities. And I've been in your group. I listen to your work. I listen to what's coming out of the group. And there are people who really, really remind me of me when I started, which is why I reached out to you and said, let's get together.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Let's do a podcast.
Mm.
Let's see if we can't, if anything, inspire people in the group to become the really best versions of themselves, because that's when the world becomes a really exciting place to be in.
It's so true, and there's something magical about meeting up in real life as well. Like these events, when I started attending just before COVID hit, so I had one little example of something, and then you couldn't, and everything went online. It just wasn't the same. And after COVID, I started going to more, and there's just something different about it. There's nothing I can say that would convince someone that it is different. But just go. If you get the opportunity to get a ticket,
to be in a
just go.
room with that energy. Your
Yeah.
vibration will be lifted immediately. You'll
Yeah.
come away with stuff, but more than anything, you make connections,
Yeah.
because it can be a lonely world out there as a
Yeah.
tutor.
Yeah.
It can be quite isolating, and you've
Mm,
no litmus to know whether or not you're doing the right thing, which is why groups like yours are crucial.
mm.
Groups like mine are crucial,
Yeah.
because you just get some comfort from knowing that you're not the only person
You've
who,
got someone to go to. That was the point. It was there you need somewhere to go and ask a question. You're not sure. You want to meet other like-minded people. You want to go and sit next to these people. You want to connect with people who are way ahead of you because they're standing on the stage telling you these things. That's where the magic happens. Because if you've never been to any live event before, I guarantee I already know what's going to happen to you. You're going to walk away and you're going to be up all night writing stuff down. The first one I went to, got home at about 8 o'clock in the evening. And then I didn't go to bed until 6 in the morning because I just couldn't stop.
take paracetamol with you, because your head will be banging.
It's just crazy.
What I'm going to do now, because I'm going to, if I may draw this to a conclusion,
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, definitely.
obviously been vitally important. I have a Zoom call at 11:30. This is what I would like to. This is what I'd like to suggest, that in your group, you and I do some live Q&As.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just do a podcast and
Yeah.
bounce out.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'll start interacting more within the group, offering some advice, and the two of us can maybe have a round table.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah,
People in, and we'll answer questions at a point of need.
that's
So,
perfect.
such is my mindset, and I know I have been of value. I don't say I hope I've been of
No,
value.
you have. You have.
I know I have been of value.
Mm.
I know this will resonate with many of your group members. And I know that somewhere in what we've said today, there will be life-changing moments for people. And what more can you ask for on a Friday morning?
There's like very, very rare do I'm talking about me personally, sit opposite someone, and I will usually just write tons of notes, but I didn't want to because I just wanted to immerse myself in the information. And I have made some, but I think I'm going to go back and make more. And so it's always inspiring, one, to experience it firsthand like this, but being able to record this and share it with others who I know are going to be able to, again, take notes, pause it, carry on, and just get so much information, but more importantly, that inspiration to go, I'm worth it. This is something which I need to put into my life. Here are actually tangible things that you can take away and start using to make your life the way it should be.
Key. That's the key. You can only take the horse to water. You can only expose an individual to what's happening. If that individual doesn't rip the sticking plaster off and start to do the work themselves, they are going to be sat here going, well, that doesn't work for me. No, it does. There's one thing I can guarantee you. If you start to apply even half of what I have said, you will see success in your business. If it's not working, you're in swim lane B.
Let's say, Sharon, and I know this is going to be the case, by the way, but let's assume this is going to happen. That there's nearly 2,000 people in my little group. There's going to be some that will go, do you know what? This Sharon, this is someone who I want to connect to. If this is someone who I want to work with, what is the best way for them to make contact with you?
Okay, so there's a variety of different ways you can do it. I am on LinkedIn. I am also on Facebook. I am quite happy for people to send me friendship requests on Facebook, because it is what it is. If you're aligned and you're in my gang. If they are interested in finding out a bit more, I'm going to also drop in a link at the bottom of the comments within the podcast. It's a link to my Acuity calendar, where you can book in for a coffee and a chat and find out about working with me if you wanted to. So underneath everything we're going to be doing, there's enough roots
Yeah.
And also Life After Teaching, if you're not in it, join that group.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many who are not. I think eventually, when I talk about an abundant mindset, I think we're going to have all of the teachers in there at some point.
I want to say a massive thank you to Sharon for the masterclass that she's just given us in the podcast. You'll see this is a separate recording. Now, what actually happened at the end of our podcast was we just kept talking and talking. It didn't come to a natural end, and there's not really a space where I can go, right, let's cut it off there, and it really works. So this is what I'm doing instead. I'm giving it a bit of an outro. So thank you to Sharon. If you've listened to the podcast and you've been impacted in some way, in the way that I have too, reach out to Sharon, reach out to myself. There's Life After Teaching group, which I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of. It's just got an abundance of support. You can reach out and ask questions. The admins on there will also direct you to support groups if you need them. If you're a business owner or you're thinking of starting tutoring, we've got 2 spaces for you to go and connect with like-minded people. You have the space in which you might already sit already, which is the group on Facebook, which is Grow Your Tutoring Business, and that's with me. But you've also got the Life After Teaching group, where there is an abundance of people in there that are maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you who will offer some support. So there's lots of places for you to go and learn lots of these things that Sharon's talking about. So thank you to Sharon again. Thank you for sharing all of your insight with us. I've personally made changes to my business since we've spoken, and in the editing process I've had the wisdom of being able to, I suppose, draw on the fact that I listen to this about 3 or 4 times before we get to a final edit. And so I've been able to make notes and go, do you know what, that applies to me, or I can take that message and use it in some way. I would love all of you to get something out of that in the same way that I have. But thanks to Sharon, thanks for support. I will see you either on YouTube, in the Facebook group, or in Life After Teaching. And keep your eyes open for the tickets that Sharon was talking about to the tutor conference. All of those links will also be included in the description below. Okay, thanks everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.